Hello. So for this video I'm going to show you how to draw a cat's head, front and side view, and this handout is attached to the email that I've sent you, and then I'm going to work on my walking cat to fill out his body and cover him with papier-mâché and then paint him. So firstly, and this hopefully will be useful when you come to paint your cat, if you know a bit about the cat's head. So as with the other ways of drawing that I've shown you for the whole cat and for other animals, I say first don't press too hard and try some of these shapes. So I put down a triangle like this, and then out of that triangle, falling over slightly, a couple of triangular ears, and not at the bottom of the triangle, a little bit further up, an oval. So I haven't pressed too hard because I'm going to change these, but these are a bit of a guide. And how am I going to change them? Well, firstly I'm going to make those ears a bit rounder, like that. And I'm going to raise this bit here, the top of the triangle, because that's going to be the top of the cat's forehead. And instead of a straight side, cats come out quite a bit, and then they come in to the bottom of that oval. Because our cats have got these amazing little chins. So that's what I'm trying to get there. I'm still not pressing too hard, a bit harder than I did for the triangles at the beginning, but I'm still not pressing too hard so that I can change any of this and rub things out quite easily. So that oval I did, the bottom of it is the chin, and at the top of it I'm going to put another little nose shape, just for starters, and then the middle of the nose, cats have got this amazing line, might be called a philtrum, that's what it's called in humans, and then I've curved its mouth like that, and I've lifted up the corners so that it will look like a cheerful cat. And then from the outside of the nose, again, if you look at your cat, if you have a cat, our cats have got these lines that join the eyes and the nose, and the eyes are sort of almond shape, and I think they point down slightly, so they're not going straight across, they're pointing down slightly. So that is refining those triangles into something a bit more cat-like. I don't know if it's a little bit big. The ears look huge, so that's why I didn't press too hard. So if you look at your drawing and think, oh no, ears are too big, well then it's easy to change it. And I might change them even more to make them a bit more sort of leaf-like, a bit pointier. And I'm going to give the ears another line because that's the inside of the ear. So what else do I want to do? I think I'm happier with that, so I'm going to strengthen some of these, and I'm going to give it a pupil, which is just a bit of a line in cats, and the nose, I'm keeping the top edge of the nose, but now I'm giving it some nostrils, like that. And you can see my mouth doesn't line up, does it? So I need to change that. So I get the mouth in the middle. So the nostrils, it's like a sort of M shape, or and I line that up with the middle. And I think now that's a bit big over there, but this side's okay. And actually when I do it, I'm going to make this a bit more jaggedy. And it's lovely round little chin. And then a bit more jaggedy stuff there, and the ears are still a bit big, but some cats have big ears, so I'm going to keep them. His forehead. So once I've done that, this might be, actually if I strengthen the eyes, this might be a point to rub out those lines that I started with, the bits of the triangle and that I don't want. And there is my cat's head seen straight on. I could do more to that. I could do some patterns. Depends what your cat's going to be like. But they often have things coming on either side here. Maybe I could fill in the ear, side of the ear. Make that a bit darker. And some whiskers, which I won't do too heavy a line because whiskers are so thin and fine. Sometimes cats have sort of spots, dots. Well, they're not spots, I think it's where the whiskers come from. There we are. So that's the cat seen straight on. Now side view. Do that over here. Same idea. Now I'm doing a really big long triangle, much longer than I'm actually going to use because I thought that would be helpful to get the angle of the cat's head. I've got an ear which doesn't start at the end of the triangle, it goes a little bit forward. There's another triangle. And then actually cats' heads aren't that long. So I'm stopping it about here, my triangle. So that's what I'd begin with. And then where's a good place to start? Maybe with making the ears a bit rounder. And from the side, you can see the back of the ear and the inside. So that goes a bit like that. Then the top of my triangle, I'm going to change. So I'm not using that triangle yet, because I'm doing the forehead and then dropping down to that triangle. And around here, the chin comes up a bit like that. So that's how I've adapted that triangle. And if that's the forehead there, it needs to come out around, join up at the back of the head there. So that's me changing the triangles, not using any of that, but that helps me get the angle of the head. And then there's not so much for this side view. We want to put the eye about there. And the eye from the side now is also a triangle. You could do a V like that and get something rounder, because you're seeing the front of the eyeball there. And the nose seems to look a bit like that. This looks long, doesn't it? Looks like a leopard. So maybe I've made that too long, but I'll bring the mouth in and up, and maybe I'd make that a slightly smaller chin. I don't want it to be too much like a leopard. And again, I've got huge ears, so I'll have to make those ears a bit smaller. But that's more or less the changing the triangles into something a bit more cat-like, and not pressing hard yet until I'm happier with what I've got. And there's one ear there, but actually we could also get another ear on the other side. So there's the forehead which goes between the ears. So that's the other ear. I might make its pupil a bit stronger. And the outline. Its nose. And mouth. So as before, I can then rub out some of those. They're called construction lines, when you start with some triangles and other shapes. It's just to help you find, it's a guide that you can work with, but that you do change, which is why I keep saying don't press too hard. And then it's not a big deal to change them. And even once you've got past the construction lines, the triangles, still don't press too hard until you're really happy with what you've got. And I'll give it a little bit of a pattern. some of these things on the side. And the pattern, I'm not pressing so hard, I'm getting a kind of grey pattern. Maybe fill in the inside of the ear. There's the cat from the side. A few more spots there, maybe some whiskers. Okay, let me pause that. So I think that's what you need to know. You've got the handout, and hopefully you can do those two views and even put some colour into them. So I'm going to make a few refinements, adjustments to my walking cat. Mainly the head, because you can see the head's much too pointy. It's like those triangles that I started with, so I need to round that off. I'm not sure about the size of my ears yet. Once I've got the head right, I'll change the ears. And then I'm going to cover the whole thing with papier-mâché. It does stand up, but I won't worry about that until I've got the legs covered with tissue and glue and that's dried, and then I'll bend them a bit more into shape and possibly change their length if I have to. So firstly, to change the shape of that head, is very triangular at the front. The side's not too bad really. I think I just need something at the top of the forehead, so I'm going to pack it a little bit. So I've just scrunched up some tissue paper, and I think I need a bit more up here. I've got my masking tape ready. So I'm just going to tape these bits on to see if I can get a better shape to the head. Because when I was drawing it, if you remember, it's really quite short. The cat's head seen from the side. So I'm using the same tissue paper that I will cover it with, that I'll use for the papier-mâché. I'm just taping it in place. So actually I'm a bit happy with that. I realised that when I showed you how to start the head, remember there was a line down the nose? Well, that's all gone now. But I don't think that matters. I think that's a better shape for the cat's head from the side and even from the front. The ears also don't look too bad. So I think that's all I'm going to do to refine that. I tried to as well, I don't know if you remember with the drawing the cat's body, the base of its neck, there's a bit of a bone there. So I think I'm going to put that in as well. Same way, just an extra bit of padding round about there. Held in place with tape and then covered with papier-mâché. So I think that's all. My tail's a bit flat as well, so I should probably pad that out. Maybe the tissue will do it, the tissue and the glue. So if you remember how this works, I think the best way to do it, I've got some PVA here, and I think the best way to do it is to paint on to the tissue. Not too big a bit. I mean, for here, to cover these bits of tissue on the neck, it's okay to have a bit that size, but once I start doing the head, I'll probably find it's much easier to do smaller bits. So for example, the head, let's have half of that size. It just means it's easier to get it, for example, to go between the ears and get that forehead working. There you go, that's an altogether better looking cat's head. It looks a bit like a cow from the side, but once, see what I mean? But once we get some once we get some cat patterns on, then there will be no mistaking it. And whoever saw a cow with a tail as long as that? So there we go, that's the papier-mâché, which I've got a lot to do now. So I won't make you watch me do that. I'll get the whole thing covered, let it dry, and talk to you about standing it up and then starting to paint some of its markings and its patterns and the features, of course. So I have finished more or less the papier-mâché, putting the tissue and the glue on my cat. My cat's head is a tiny bit too big for its body, or maybe it's too big for its legs. Needs slightly longer legs. This was a bit of a wooden leg, which I had to cut short and bend a bit more. So I was saying this probably before, that you can actually bend these legs, heads. You probably even bend the neck a bit actually. Not too much, but the glue and the tissue are a little bit flexible. So I managed partly by shortening that leg and bending it, and by moving that leg out a bit, I can get my cat to stand up. Can you see that? Yes. So that's the next thing to do. Cover it with the tissue and the glue, let that dry, and then maybe do a little bit of manipulating. And if, for example, you bent something and it cracked or snapped, or you could put more tissue over it. You can. It's worth getting a shape and a standing, walking sculpture, even if it takes you a little bit of, re-papering. Anyway, when you've done that and you're happy with it, I would suggest you paint it, and you paint it a main colour. So we used to have a lovely cat called Ron that was a kind of blue-grey. So I mixed up some blue and some brown and some white. This is acrylic, and I've got a little bit of water, but I'm mainly putting on the undiluted paint. Because the tissue has a little bit of a texture to it, the tissue and the glue, it's a little bit creased, which I think is okay. I think it's quite good. It gives it a bit of a furry texture. But in order to get into all those cracks and crevices, it helps if you just dip your brush in the water now and then. So not lots of water, but a little bit, just to make the paint easy to get into the cracks. So what I suggest you do next, depending on what whatever pattern you want to put on your cat, start by painting the whole thing one colour. Try and decide what's its main colour and paint it all over. That just brings everything together, and you can then, when that's dry, if it's got stripes or some kind of pattern, then do that next. And maybe there are different coloured paws, or some cats have a darker tip to their tail. So do the main colour first, and then start to work on any patterns and things. And that's what I'll do next. So I'll stop this now, so you don't have to watch me paint the whole thing. And then when that's dry, I'll record a bit of painting inside the ears, sticking on the eyes and nose, and anything else to complete the walking cat. Oh darn, that came out the wrong way. Okay, last things to do to my cat. I've painted it all over grey. That's dry now, and I'm going to put on some eyes. So I just got a bit of packaging. I don't know if these cats have blue eyes. I looked up some pictures and some of them had green eyes, but I really like this bit of blue. I also cut out a nose shape from the black bit of this packaging. So I recommend that you glue on your eyes, your cat's eyes, and you glue on your nose, and it might make sense to put the nose on first. I'm using this quick drying glue, which you might need help with. any of you got any that works. Anything coming out? There we go. It's quite good because although it's annoying the way it sticks to your fingers, it does mean you can move things around. So that's my cat's nose. That's where it belongs. Something like that. In a minute I'm going to, once I've done the eyes, I might put on a line for the mouth with a pen. So I think that's the right place. And then I cut out, as I say, from the blue packaging, I cut out some almond-shaped eyes, and with a pen I drew the line down the middle, which is the pupil. We have a round pupil, but most cats seem to have a line. And I keep looking at it from the front because I want to make sure that it looks right from the front. It'll probably look fine from the side, however you do it. He's got a bit of a moustache there. Should it come in a bit? And actually, while the glue is still drying, it might be an idea to do both eyes. Do the eyes as quickly as possible before the glue dries, and then I might be able to move them if I want to get them lined up at the same time. So just thinking of my my drawing of the cat at the beginning of the video, I think my cat in my picture, you can see that, had bigger eyes. And I think if I was to do this again, I would do bigger eyes. Anyway, so there's my cat's eyes and nose. And with a pen, I'm just going to do that line down from the nose and then a line for the mouth. Don't usually do things with pen, but I think it would be hard to do that with a paintbrush. And the other thing that I'm going to do, you see I've got some paint here, and I just want to make a little bit of pink for the ears. So I've got a bit of red, but I think it's an orangey pink, a salmon pink, a warm pink. So something like that maybe. And I just want to put that on the inside of the ears. Again, it depends on your cat. Some cats don't have that amount of colour. You can't see it. If you've got a cat, you should check out your cat. Whoops. There we are. So I think that is the decorating of my walking cat. There it is. Is it going to stay standing up just for its final appearance? Let's move that leg a little bit. If you have trouble getting your cat to stand up, which I seem to have, then another thing you can do is get a piece of card like this from a box, a cereal box, and actually put some glue on each of the feet that are touching the ground and glue it. So I could glue it onto that bit of card, but I'd get a nicer bit of card, maybe paint it with some grass. Then your cat will always stand up because these bits will be stuck to something solid and it won't fall over the way mine might do. There we are. Here is the walking cat sculpture, which I hope you'll have a go at, and you'll take your time. And particularly that thing about once you've got the papier-mâché and tissue on, then you can adjust things a bit, and you can even change its shape slightly if necessary. Okay, so please cat, don't fall over as we have the end of the video. There it is, the walking cat. Shall I just get it from different angles? You to see it. There we go. Oh yes, I like it seen from that angle. Okay, well, enjoy your cat. Bye-bye.